Recognized, Uncle Walker, D01. Recognized, Emily of Arden, D12. Recognized, Joe Moniac, D05.
Hello team, welcome back and thanks for joining us for episode 20 of Whelmed Season 4. My name is Rich and with me is my co-host Emily and producer Neil.
Hey everyone, in these review episodes we'll be diving into the plots, characters, Easter eggs, comic book history, and everything else of Young Justice, and use all of that as a springboard to talk about the creative writing process along the way.
Our review segments will avoid any major spoilers for later episodes, but we'll be discussing them in detail in our final segment, Crashing the Mode.
You don't get to decide what's of interest.
Come with me if you want the entire galaxy to survive.
And with all that out of the way, let's hand it over to Emily for.
Hello, Megan.
The title of this week's episode is Forbidden Secrets of Civilizations Past. The release date was April 28th, 2022. The in-episode dates were August 28th, August 26th, and August 27th, kind of in that order. The writer was Greg Weisman, the director was Vinton Hoyk, and the voice director was, as always, Jamie Thomason.
Special guest voice credits include D. Bradley Baker as Tomare,
Denise Bouty as Celestia, and Feora Ha'ul. Oh gosh, stupid Kryptonians are as bad as Martians.
Ben Diskin as Orion and Malafak,
Bill Fagerbaki as Bear,
Andrew Kishino as Mantis and Jaxur,
Phil Lamar as Metron and Vorkill,
Vanessa Marshall as Dinah Lance and Ursa Zod,
Phil Morris as Lorzod and Druzod,
Nolan North as Cruel,
and Kevin Michael Richardson as Viking and Kilowog.
Just in time for your next mission.
This week's episode starts in Supertown, where Rocket tries to make amends with Orion, and the two agree to start fresh after their recent disagreements. But after Orion walks away, we learn that Rocket was, unbeknownst to herself, speaking with Macomb in disguise. By reading Rocket's surface thoughts, Macomb is able to gather important information about recent events for Lorzod, and with this newfound knowledge, the Time Sphere group travels back to 2 days ago so that they can place a tracking device on the Ruction cell so that they can then use the Kaiser Thrall to lock onto its signal and teleport into Metron's vault after the artifact is moved there. And back in the present, we cut over to Star City, where Beast Boy is finally sitting down for a therapy session with Black Canary.
Finally. Beast Boy is clearly frustrated about being forced into therapy by the League's policies about annual mental health checks for all active heroes, but admits that it's probably necessary given his recent behavior. Garfield acknowledges his depression and grief, admits that he has a lot of apologizing to do, and generally seems to be on the mend, saying all the right things, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Meanwhile, on New Genesis, the negotiations between the League and the New Gods continues to go poorly. The New Gods want Halo, and Cyborg, for that matter, to be handed over for study because of their connections to Mother and Father boxes, but when Rocket insists that they'd be safer on Earth surrounded by people who love and understand them, Orion suddenly withdraws the request. But before negotiations can continue, Bear interrupts the meeting, as Bear does, and conversation turns to talk of Superboy's death, and Tomare expresses his condolences and admits that, since Krypton was part of his space sector, and he was well acquainted with the L family, he still considers the planet's destruction his greatest regret.
Speaking of Krypton, in the Phantom Zone, Druzod introduces Connor to the other Kryptonians trapped in the zone. We then cut back to 2 days ago, where the Time Sphere cohort travel to Metron's vault and begin searching for the Phantom Zone projector. One box at a time. And back in therapy, Black Canary continues to use the disordered treatment to get to the heart of Garfield's issues until he suddenly admits that Connor's death was his fault. But before we can have time to fully process this, we cut back to New Genesis, where the conference discussion continues to devolve into personal discussions, including the revelation that Forager is seriously considering staying on New Genesis to be with Mountain Forager. In Metron's vault, Lorzod discovers a weird green eyeball, we'll talk about that later, just before the whole group is attacked by a cloud of deadly red mist. This is revealed to be an extremely dangerous baby sun eater, just one more danger the Time Sphere team will have to avoid as they continue to search, since Lore refuses to abandon the plan box by box.
It's a foolproof plan. They've got a time machine. Back in therapy, Dinah asks Beast Boy to explain his feelings of guilt associated with Connor's death, and Garfield eventually admits to feeling irrationally responsible for not only Connor's death on Mars, but also Brion's decision to kill his uncle and return to Markovia, Kid Flash being killed by the Reach back in Season 2, the deaths of the entire Doom Patrol, and the death of his own mother when he was only 8 years old. At Canary's gentle reassurance that sometimes bad things happen despite our best efforts, and that doesn't make those bad things our fault, Beast Boy finally breaks down and admits that he needs help. And back in Metron's vault, after a full day of searching through every box one by one, and after Razor threw Metron back into the vault at the end of the previous episode, because time shenanigans, Lore and his allies are able to catch Metron off guard and subdue him with the Kaiser Thrall.
Back in the Phantom Zone, Zod explains to Connor that doing anything in the zone requires immense willpower and focus to accomplish, as the other Kryptonians sing a very cultish song while moving asteroids to build a fortress? I hope, maybe? Zod offers to let Connor stay with them rather than continue on alone, and Connor kneels, accepting the offer. Back in the vault, under extreme torture from the Kaiser Thrall, Metron eventually relents and agrees to lead the group to the Phantom Zone projector. But instead, he leads them to a box containing kryptonite, which he uses to subdue Lore Zod long enough to call the Sun Eater and escape, leaving the group for dead. Metron then teleports directly into the middle of the negotiation conference, where he announces that they must come with him to save the entire galaxy.
Back in Metron's vault, while the others are incapacitated, Mantis gathers enough strength to power his way through the Sun Eater back to the Time Sphere, carrying or tossing the rest of the team to safety. Mantis then uses his knowledge of the Time Sphere to travel back to one day earlier and immediately goes to the section of the vault that contains not only kryptonite, but other artifacts from the planet Krypton, including the Phantom Zone projector. And over the credits, Forager recites a modified version of Shakespeare to Forager.
You know Jason loved doing that.
I got notes.
All right.
Superboy, are you alright?
I'm fine. Feeling the Aster.
There's a lot of feelings in this one.
A lot of feelings in this one.
Yeah.
Rocket learns that nothing stays buried forever.
Yeah, so that's it. There's your log line.
Which, like, I'm just going to point out, there's so little Rocket in this episode for that to be the log line.
I know, yeah, that's true.
These log lines got to the point where they were.
Yep.
It's just even more ludicrous than earlier, which is fine. They were there to throw us off and keep us from getting spoilers, but also, does Rocket learn almost anything in this episode?
Not this one.
No. She learns that Bear's 16,000 years old.
Yeah.
I think she learned that.
Yeah, we all learned that.
And it's our main 16. The others are timestamps.
Nice. All right, Emily, what you got?
Let's see, where do we want to start?
You had some setting stuff that was kind of cool. Like some background shot stuff.
Yeah, so this is the episode where we finally get Beast Boy into therapy, and it's very good, and it's very wonderful for us to finally have that cathartic moment, but there are some really nice nods to Disordered in this, which we kind of referenced in the summary for the episode, but the shot for shot reverse between her and Beast Boy is blocked almost the exact same way that Disordered is, but even smaller than that that I feel like everybody notices, but people might have missed on Dinah's desk in her office next to the literal black canary that she has on her desk that I like. Is like a mini waterfall water feature. And if you remember in Disordered, there's like a man-made waterfall in the background of all of the therapy scenes in that, as a fountain inside the cave. And I just think it's a nice nod of being like, how do we visually connect these scenes as much as possible to hint at how this is going to go? It's nice. It's smart. It's clever. Young Justice did a cool thing. Who would have guessed?
The other thing you notice is that in the background is a badge which is undoubtedly going to be the badge of one Larry Lance, who is her father in most storylines, ends up passing away. And then she takes over, becomes a superhero because he's typically like a private investigator or detective or something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah.
Or she just lived her life previously. I don't know. I assume it's her dad's badge in the frame behind her.
And her office is also above her flower shop from the comics.
Yes, the Sherwood Florist.
That's right. The Sherwood Florist.
So good.
Amazing. Incredible. Other things about Black Canary. I have a note here that simply says, I love Black Canary. I love her so much, which is always true,
same.
but is especially true in this episode. I love the way that she deals with Garfield. I love the way that the scene plays out on a larger level, but I do really love like the split-second reveal that Dinah's just been making check marks on a blank piece of paper because she is playing along with what she knows Garfield thinks this is going to be. And she's just like, I'll just wait you out. I'll just wait you out until we get to what we're actually going to be doing here today.
And I'll keep asking questions.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is going really well. Well, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
How about you and Perdita? How you doing with Connor? Well, I hadn't pushed a button yet. We'll just keep asking questions until casual conversation until we find out, oh no, yes, Garfield, you're not okay. You're not okay.
And again, it's not exactly, but it's very much reminiscent of the way that Disordered goes, of Black Canary just sitting everybody down and being like, let's talk about things. And then being like, I don't need to talk about anything. She's like, you sure about that? Artemis, you were knocked out the first of everybody, so you don't have any trauma from the virtual reality. Okay, let's talk about your family.
Let me just Wally's the one you're the most concerned about.
let's just make a little note. Extrapolate on that. Expound on that. That's the word.
Really good.
And it's so good to finally get to see Garfield finally get to a point in this arc where we get to see him talk about everything. And like rewatching this, especially, I was again caught off guard by like the way that scene goes. And when we finally get to the point in that scene where Garfield says, like, I know what's wrong. I know that I killed Connor. And then we cut to something else and you're sitting there like, wait, what? And when we cut back and he like explains it, and at least for me watching it, I feel like I had never, until that point of having that moment where he says all that, realized that was what the problem was, kind of thing. And I think that's part of the point, is everyone watching, you're like, oh yeah, Garfield's depressed and he's upset about all these things, and okay, he's withdrawing from all of that. And then you get to this scene and realize you're like, oh, this is a very complex 10-year-long case of survivor's guilt for everyone you've ever dealt with. And we're gonna slowly unpack that. Oh, okay. This is more than I thought it was. Yep. And that's very good. And I like that.
Yeah, it's way more than like, why did I survive and they didn't? Like, it's even that other step, like she's saying, like, this is your job. Your job is to save people's lives and livelihoods and, protect them. And you couldn't do it for all of these people who you were close to. He didn't go on that Doom Patrol mission for whatever reason. I don't think we got an explanation for that yet, but he wasn't there when they all died. His mom, like the whole thing, like it's just one thing piled on top of the other.
Yeah, but and Dinah being able to, keep pace of like, oh, okay, so then if you feel that way, then McGann knew the same thing, so it's her fault too, right? No. Oh, okay. So then you were 8 when your mom passed away, and the entire Justice League still hasn't been able to do anything about the person that did it. So you were supposed to do, but so you knew about the kryptonite though, right? Well, no. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's like, especially that way that she just goes back and forth with him for that scene. It's so well paced and so well acted, but it's also, it's like, it's Black Canary meeting him on his own terms and going, okay, like the way that she says, okay, tell me how you killed Connor. Not tell me why you feel like you killed Connor. She goes, just explain it to me. Tell me how you killed Connor. Where she's like, okay, I will accept that this is your reality for the next 5 minutes. Explain.
Yeah. Let's call it what you think it is directly. and have you hear those words in your own ears, not your head. Right?
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's such a good scene. It's one of those things where it's such a good scene that I run into the thing where I'm like, what else can I say about it other than everything about this scene is incredibly written?
It's well done, yeah. I don't think there's anything else. It's exactly what he needed. There's a lot of stuff about like, so she keeps asking questions, we said, right? So other people were asking him questions, and he didn't even answer those questions as elegantly as he answered these questions. And people still didn't continue to ask questions, right? Like, he wasn't making it easy for them by any means. But, like, I just think back on that first scene where Blue Devil's like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I'm fine. And then he just kind of takes off in the elevator or whatever, right? Like, here, Black Canary's like, keeps asking questions.
And keeps asking pointed questions, is I think also
direct
part
questions.
Of so many other people are just like, what's wrong, Garfield? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And Black Canary's just like, explain this specific feeling right now. This thing. Talk about that. And it's like, there is no just going, oh, I'm fine to that, because she is asking things that are specific.
And him too going like, oh, review my trauma narrative. He's just using all of the like catchphrases, the therapy catchphrases. And she's just like, yeah, okay, great. So you know what's going on. So you know what this is. I wasn't there. Walk me through it. Tell me how you killed him. I wasn't there. You've got all the knowledge, so tell me.
Also makes me think of, like, in its own way. Like, well, first off, just never underestimate Dinah Lance.
Never. Not once. Don't do it.
2, like, it makes me think of, like, the scene where it's like, Connor's like, nah, I'm fine. I don't need to train with you. And then you're just like, well, you're looking up at the ceiling, my guy. So I feel like maybe there's a little thing or two to be learned. And, like, obviously it's a much more nuanced and, emotional, but in many ways, it's like, I'm Beast Boy and I've got this figured out. You know, I've been doing this since I was what age, and now I've been leading teams and I know what to say. I've been basically a child actor, and like the maturity level that he has been kind of forced into from 8, and like feeling like he's got it all figured out. And then he's looking at the ceiling now.
She just baits the hook too, because he's just like, you know, I just don't know. I don't think I want to be a actor when I grow up. She's like, totally understandable. Totally hear that. Click that up. Oh yeah, that makes total sense. Okay, sure. Good to go. Okay. Right? And like, he's just like, hey, this is going great. I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah.
Not so much. Not so much, buddy. I don't have anything else to add. That seems amazing.
I got you.
Okay.
Speaking of people not dealing with their trauma, McCollum's just in it to win it, no matter what it takes. No matter who he screws, no matter what he blows up, it doesn't matter at all. Like, holy cow. I don't know, just the swings he's willing to take is I think still surprised me a little bit in this season, of just being like, dude, you're impersonating a new god now. Like, I don't quite understand. Also,
to be fair, he did that.
He's
last
done Orion
season.
before.
I know, but like, you're still doing it. That's what I mean. You're still doing it. You're like, I guess
you learned.
Like, they caught you. They caught you last time. Yes.
Yeah, well, try it again. And then it's just like, we'll just travel through space and time. It'll be fine. I mean, going back to like, well, what was he doing with the Ruction cell? And you're like, oh, now you know. But I will say, like, with what we are afforded with the timestamps is a bit of an easier track for time travel that is happening like this is, because it's like, okay, so 2 days before present. Okay. 1 day before present. Okay. I can track. Okay. And you're giving me visual clues to previous moments while not spending a ton of time, but like, you're giving me the touch points to say, okay, this is when they were talking to the bugs. This is when he was fighting Razor. This is when, and so you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And basically my note, what did I write? I said, this version of time travel has me tracking so far, but I honestly can't remember if I'm going to get lost between now and the end of the season. Because it's kind of the lowest version of it, where it's like, okay, it's just a day or two, but we have to remember, like, we know at this point that it's coming from the time of the Legionnaires. So we have skipped backwards how many? 1,000 years. So... I'm tracking so far. That's what I can say.
Yeah. Exactly.
We'll check back in on Neil's time travel corner in a few weeks.
A scale of 1 to 10. How lost is Neil?
Speaking of the Legion, like the Sun Eater is a direct reference to the Legion as well. Like the Sun Eater was first introduced, gosh, I want to say back in the 70s with the Legion. And it was when the first Legionnaire died, like permanently. There's a Legion that was the thing. One of the things about the Legion that struck me when I was a kid and reading it was that there was this, you know, kind of like how Ted Kord now is like the hero who died. That's kind of like how he's defined. You know what I mean? There was a character called Feral Lad. He could turn into iron, kind of like Colossus almost in a way, if you think of it kind of like that. But like he died sacrificing himself to save a whole solar system from the Sun Eater. And so he became like, you know, the hero who died, who was a big deal. And I hadn't seen that in comics. And then it was later than that, I think, that Barry Allen ended up dying and he was dead for a couple decades. And then they ended up bringing him back. But so there's still continuous little references. That green eye too. We'll talk about that maybe in a little crashing mode. That green eye, shockingly enough for Young Justice, that green eye will come back.
Who would have guessed that he found a thing, put it in his pocket, and we'll all... And it,
what is that?
And
Don't worry about it.
Never get talked about again, surely.
It's not at all
That's just a
important.
Souvenir.
Right.
The Sun Eater was introduced in Adventure Comics number 305 in 1963, but it definitely came into prominence when it was against the Legion. And there's a cartoon, and for the life of me, 63. I can't remember. But like Superman just has one sometimes. It's like a pet. And I'm like, that's a weird move. That you like the sun, and like that thing also really likes the sun. But it's gonna eat it. It's in the name, and I feel like you wouldn't enjoy what happens afterwards.
Yeah, it's interesting that he just has one. Metron just has one hanging out. I don't know.
Also, can we talk about how things were definitely labeled? Like they were to some degree, because the whole boxes that they end up at have like the symbol of Krypton.
The Kryptonians,
on them.
yeah.
But we're definitely just box by box. The other thing I think of, if you find the eye and you find things we have seen, the Sun Eater, the eye, the projector, and Kryptonite. What else did you guys find along the way?
And exactly, I'm shocked that he's just like, oh, that's interesting. I'm just pull this out. It would have been
funny when Mantis goes back in. There's just a pile of stuff that they've just been stealing from the vault. The sphere is just full.
This'll be useful.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm sure Metron's saving nothing. All those boxes were empty.
It's fine.
They just every box they looked into was empty. Yeah, agreed. They must have stumbled across something that would have been helpful. But oh well, they're focused, like you said. Malafak, he's focused. He just has a goal.
I forgot about this note. So, books in the world. There are more books than there used to be, but for a long time, there was but one book. And so I kind of laughed in my head every time I see a bookshelf. All I think, just to like make myself giggle, is, wow, how are there so many different versions of the Mysteries of Adolfo to fill this entire bookshelf? Every time I see it, I'm just like, ooh, a big one, small one, abridged. What are the differences? Because none of them are labeled. So I assume then that they are all different mysteries of Adolfo.
That would be weird, man.
No, it's good.
We've established at this point that there's about like 12 books in Young Justice, and Artemis has read all of them. But speaking of books, do I need to put on my theater major hat for a second?
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, go for it.
Speech. So this episode ends with Forager reciting Shakespeare to Forager. I assume that she's just listening also. That's how I like to interpret this scene.
I like to picture her watching her from a distance, just like Romeo and Juliet. And she just, she sighs.
She's just like, I don't know what he's talking about. So one thing I did notice, having watched this multiple times, Forager takes out all of the pronouns in this speech. This is a speech from Romeo and Juliet. This is part of the Act 2, Scene 2 in Romeo and Juliet that often gets called like the balcony scene. Though if you read the actual text, there's no balcony in sight. People just do that in staging, even though it's not actually written that way. Fun fact that you learn if you're a theater major. no balcony in the text for what people consider one of the most famous Shakespeare scenes of all time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So is it because it's what light through yonder window breaks?
Yeah, she's just at a window. She's just standing at a window.
I see.
In the
okay.
original
so
text,
she's in a building somewhere.
Yes,
she's not
standing
like out
behind
in
a window, and he is like in the yard looking up at her. But a lot of stagings of it will build a balcony instead of a window.
Yeah, we don't even know if it opens. She probably had to go out in the yard for all we know.
It's possible.
But that's a Shakespeare fun fact rather than a Young Justice fun fact. And in wow. We'll get to why I made that mistake in a second. In Forager's performance of it, he changes all mentions of Juliet to mentions of Forager, and he changes all uses of pronouns to proper names, which messes with the meter of the piece, but he makes up for it by giving a genuinely very good performance of Shakespeare.
Yeah, he does.
Which is no surprise, since people may not know this anymore. I don't know if it's been lost to the internet, but back in the day, back when Young Justice and Green Lantern the Animated Series were still airing, Jason Spizak famously performed several Shakespearean pieces as both Wally and Razor on his YouTube channel. Wally reads the classics, man.
Wally reads the classics.
They're very good. I think they're still up. I think you can still find them on YouTube. But I think that is why they did this bit, a little bit of like knowing Jason Spizak can do Shakespeare. They're like, yeah, maybe we can fit that in somewhere.
I just kept thinking the whole time I was watching it was like, Jason had such a good time with this.
My notes also say, I find the idea of Forager falling in love in like 2 days and then immediately jumping to let me recite romantic Elizabethan poetry to you with zero historical or cultural context is extremely funny, but is also fitting since Romeo and Juliet is a play about falling in love with someone in an extremely short amount of time and then doing some drastic things.
It's like literally the same thing. Yeah.
No, it's great. And also for anyone who has not read a ton of Shakespeare and gotten a theater degree and all of that stuff that I have backing me up on this, and we're like, I have no idea what Forager is talking about here. Basically, the modern translation of this bit is basically just him saying that she's the most beautiful thing in the world, more beautiful than the moon, and only fools would think her less than that. It's honestly very sweet if you ignore the rest of the play. And all the murder and death and tragedy that comes after this bit.
Pusha.
But yes, this bit is just him going, my alien bug girlfriend is prettier than the moon, and all of us going, good for you, Forager. You're amazing. What else do I have? Neil, do you have anything to add while I look through my notes and find...
Oh, just to the council, like, so you have two very different Green Lanterns in attendance. One who did not turn off his ringer for the fact that he is soiling himself and going full Iron Man and allowing the Green Lantern suit to process that for him. That is a level of bored of which I know not. It is merely a conceptual.
Man, when you're flying through space and taking that long to fly through space, I mean,
guess so. And on the other side of things, you have Tomar Ray, who is like still wrestling with the fact of like Krypton's death, like, and how many decades that's been. And just like, you think of the same kind of stuff as like the Beast Boy conversation, where it's like he seems to have kind of grappled with it more, but at the same time, he still takes ownership. But it's like, well, I mean, I don't know the actual Krypton blowing up story in Young Justice, and I say that only to say because I have too many versions in my head, just as I have too many versions of Pearls slowly falling to the ground in an alley. Like sometimes it gets a little.
What is that reference to, Neil? I have no idea what you're talking about.
The next time Batman,
any movie, comic, or TV show.
Yeah, then the next time he shows up, you'll see it again. I am sure. But so that's to say, like, oftentimes it's because they kind of did it to the planet and like had all of this strife and war and all of these things. It's like, Tomar Ray, like, what were you going to do to like solve that problem and have Krypton not?
So there is a thing in the comics that there's a story that he was actively collecting an element that he was going to use to relieve the pressure at the core of Krypton. And he was literally on his way, and he had an accident solar flare. Something happened where he was blinded temporarily. He lost the element. He had to collect it. By the time he just got delayed, and literally by the time he got there, then Krypton exploded. Also, I find interesting, I knew that Tomar Ray and Kilowog are both pretty much regulars in Hal Jordan Green Lantern comics. But I didn't, and Kilowog is typically his like trainer, like drill sergeant, along with Sinestro in the Corps. But Tomar Ray is a friend of his, and I don't know if I fully registered this. Earth's sector is 2814. Krypton's sector was 2813. So apparently they were next to each other, and Tomar Ray, Hal Jordan and John Stewart and Guy Gardner's sector is 2814, and Tomar Ray's sector that he's been protecting for decades apparently is 2813. So they're like literal space neighbors, which is interesting.
You know, you gotta call the guy over from the next county and be like, I need help. We got these hooligans out here.
I got this planet gonna explode.
But also to bring it back to Neil's point of view, being like, what were you going to do, Tomore? Even if that is the answer in the world of Young Justice, that there was nothing he can do, that just ties into the whole Beast Boy plot of this episode of like,
yeah. Tomare, you were an 8-year-old child. What do you?
But I have these gems that were going to save it.
What do you think?
I got all these pretty rocks. I promise.
I mean, Rick and Mogo maybe show up and like hold the planet together because Mogo's also a planet. Yeah. But, you know, I don't know. But like Tomar, I don't know what you're going to do, buddy.
Got these pretty rocks.
What'd you say?
Well, she's laughing at me because he's 8. So he's like, I got all these pretty rocks. I'll save your planet.
Yeah, pretty much.
So speaking of this council scene, pulling myself together for this, I have 2 major notes about this council scene, basically. One, I really like that once Orion is given like a concrete understanding that like Halo and Cyborg need to remain on Earth because there are people there who love them and need to protect them, and that's where they need to be. He's like, oh, okay, I get it now. And backs down immediately is how I read that. Of like, once he is given that information, he's like, oh, got it. Kind of like me. Understood. Rescinded.
That's a really good take, actually. Yeah,
that's always how I've taken it.
I'm like, God, there's something deeper here, but I did not. You got it. You grabbed it. I think I did not catch that.
Well, if you think of like the way, like, you know, how he's been able to calm down, the mechanisms for the outburst that he has that everyone fully understands, knows, and loves him. He's like, all right, never mind. I don't have a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, you also have to know you're asking, can we poke and prod on these 2 rando people that we don't kind of really know, and we don't really care about them as people? We see them as science projects because we live so long and we look at humanity differently. Because that's what the ask feels like, of just like, hey, straight up, no, we're just going to test them and do stuff to them to figure out how this even works.
Yeah. They only had a few decades left of their life anyway.
Also, Metron. So,
yeah. Metron.
Don't let Metron near anyone we care about. Ever. He can save the whole galaxy, and then he has to remain 20 feet away from everyone with any sort of power, artifact, or ability. My other note about the conference is that while I do love that whole bit, I don't love the part of this bit that's wrapped up in Rocket getting Halo's pronouns wrong. When this first aired, I remember kind of thinking that maybe it was supposed to be that Rocket just didn't know. Maybe Halo wasn't out to everyone. Rocket's not really involved with like the team and the outsiders as much as some people. So like maybe she just didn't know.
That seems reasonable to me.
And that's how I think I want to read it within the story. We found out after this aired that Greg later admitted on Twitter that it was just a writing error that never got caught in the editing process.
Oh, I see.
That it was just something that happened by accident and got overlooked and then didn't get changed until too many things had been finalized, basically. And that sucks. And it's frustrating. He apologized, promised to do better, and I accept that, and I think a lot of other people have, because mistakes like this do happen. There's so many people involved in this kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So while I do think it's frustrating and understand why a lot of people were upset when this episode first aired about that, I do get how it happened. Like, when watching this and reminded of all this, I was reminded of the fact that there is infamously an episode of Legend of Korra where in a flashback, Toph has 6 fingers on one hand, and that never got caught by anyone until it aired, and they all just had to facepalm about it later. Like, things that seem obvious the second that an outside set of eyes watches your thing, you can somehow all miss.
When the mother of dragons has Starbucks on the table, I mean, how hard do we need to be mad? The other thing I think of with that moment that I took away from it was also to say, I really wonder why people question so much of what Greg says online. Like, he's honest to his credit. Like, that's easy enough to just say no. Like, just go with the flow and be like, yeah, you're right, everybody. She didn't know. That's exactly why it was in there. That makes perfect sense with the timeline and everything else. Totally fine. But he said, no, that was a mistake we made and we're going to try and be better. I'm like, then why don't we just believe him when he says things, dear? Oh, that's right, because it's the internet. Flip table. Be mad. Got it.
I think the only reason that I mention it now is because rewatching it, I think of how great it would have been and how much tying into the themes of that moment, how much it would have worked if they had Viken be like, well, clearly she should be on this planet, and have Rocket go, no, they should be among people who understand them and love them. Like,
that would have been
like,
nice.
Right? Like, it's a subtle thing that I think, again, would have just reinforced what is happening here between these characters, which is why I'm like, I wish this mistake hadn't have happened, both for representation reasons and also because I think it would have made the writing of the scene even that little bit stronger, which is why I bring it up now. Because, just especially because watching it, I feel like I hear Viken emphasize her when he's talking, like, and that might just be because I've watched the scene so many times and know what is coming. But it sounds like he's like, don't you agree that she should be on this planet? And it's like, them, they, them.
Yes.
Subtle correction. Just a nice little dig in there.
Well, the second layer to that is also to say, like, you guys don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Like, from birth is a weird term, but we'll just accept that that's the term I am afforded based on everything, and the amalgam that becomes Halo of all the different parts and pieces. But to say, like, no, you don't know who they are. Either of them, by the way. So how about they both stay right where they're at? And immediate acceptance. We are done. We will not ask any more about this.
I like that take on him that I didn't catch. Seems like you guys both caught it. That Orion he's like, okay, you know what? Not only does that make sense, we're done asking. Also, we're off in the weeds. Can we get back to the point of what we're doing here? Right? It's like the moment where he realizes, like, okay, we're arguing about stuff that's. Can we get back to the point?
You cute little 102-year-old.
Exactly. What else you got? You got anything else, Neil?
No, just at the end, like, it's also interesting to watch character growth for villains is always an interesting thing, in the sense that, like, why did you even come here, Mantis? And Mantis is like, most valuable bug. That's why I'm here. I don't care about your son.
Yeah, sure. Right. I know. Totally like, Mantis clearly couldn't do anything anyway. It's like, I could save your tuchus. Let's just get that.
Good for Mantis.
Save your butt.
Knowing full well what he was going to do, there was still part of me who, in my head, he was like, I'm leaving both of you here. I will leave you both here, and I will take this time sphere, and I'm going home.
Along with 43 boxes full of stuff that I stole.
It's like, Darkseid's going to be mad that I didn't help you when I said I would, but I'm going to make up for it by giving him all these treats.
Giving him all this. I don't know, this eye looks important.
I got you all these stuff.
You know what Darkseid needs is that eye. Yeah, for sure.
I have a couple more things jumping around. I have one more thing about this conference that may be incomprehensible, and we can cut if it makes no sense, but I kind of want to put it out and see if either of you have anything to report. So in this episode, when Bear shows up and they're talking about how Forager is in love with Forager after 2 days and all of that stuff, there's this moment where Bear's like, yeah, me and Dreamer have been dating forever. Okay, sure. But this sets off all of the remembering things from previous season alarm bells in my head. And there's the episode in season 3 when the new gods show up and we go to New Genesis for that one episode and the team goes there and everything. And when Bear shows up on Earth and is like, hey, my best friend Superboy, and Superboy is like, hey, Bear, this is my fiance McGann. And there's a moment where Bear is like, oh, like, that's great. Yeah. Me and Dreamer, another time. We'll talk about it later, kind of thing, and moves on. And I have never understood what the bit was supposed to be in that. And with further information that's like, yeah, no, Bear and Dreamer have just been together for 1,000 years, several thousand years. I'm like, okay, I have more questions than answers. And I know it's not important, but it's the thing that just sits in the back of my mind. And I'm like, what is the bit supposed to be here?
Well, it's my emotional memory of that scene is him being really sad. For some reason, I have this emotional memory of that scene where he was, where they had split up or something.
Like, yeah, that is like, so I finished this episode. I rewatched this episode today, and then I went back and like found that episode and was like, let me rewatch this scene. And like rewatching it, like, yeah, it kind of reads like he's sad. And I thought that the implication, I think even when we reviewed season 3, I was like, the implication feels like him and Dreamer got together and broke up all off screen between seasons 1 and 3. And then they're together in season 4, so maybe they were on a break. The only other theory that I can come up with now, based on these things that I will throw out there, is the joke supposed to be that when Connor is like, hi, me and McGann are getting married, we've known each other for 10 years, we're getting married, that Bear is awkwardly being like, I have been dating my girlfriend for several thousand years, and I have nothing new to report. This is awkward. Moving on, let's go save my planet. Like
it maybe he was sad because he's like, should we be married by now? Or like whatever the new god equivalent is. Like that's my only reinterpretation of that scene. And I needed to bring it up because that scene with Bear has, I think, just kind of lived in a filing cabinet in the back of my brain every now and then going, what was that about? Yeah. Nope. I get it. I see
will
it.
They, won't they, for the past millennia.
That's too long, man. Land the plane, Bear.
So yeah, that is my only other interpretation of that scene, and I needed to bring it up because it has been just there and bothering me for years, apparently. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Speaking of marriage, I don't know, that's dumb, but I have something to say about Phantom Zone. I have something to say about my boy Connor being trapped in the Phantom Zone.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely, mm-hmm. I think I know where you're going.
Because there's so many things. There are so many things happening in this episode, and we cut between all of them so rapidly. So there is a moment where in the Phantom Zone, when talking about looking after Phantom Girl, where Ursazad, yes, that is her name, says that's what family does, about like looking after and taking care of each other. And we get the flash in Connor's mind of like what the word family triggers for him. And I love it. It's very sweet. But also I love that it's not just like a shot of him and Superman or of just him and McGann. It's every version of that for him.
Yeah.
It's everybody. Yeah. It's all of the Kents. It is him proposing to McGann. It is him and Beast Boy hanging out. It is the whole original team. It is every definition of family that are all equally important to Connor. And I think that is a very nice touch. It is that one shot of the whole team that we have that's supposed to have been taken at the very end of season 1. It's that same photo again. It's very good.
Is there a flash of Lex Luthor in there too?
No,
there was a flash of Lex Luthor, but it was a different scene. Earlier on, he was saying something about...
that's right. I mixed the two up. Yeah.
There are other things here to be worried about. Yeah, and then Lex, and then he...
There are things here worse than the Devourer, and and Superboy gets the shot of him killing Superman and Lex Luthor standing with him.
Yeah.
So no, Lex Luthor is not part of family.
I was going to say that, I mean, an understandable memory overlap, though.
My two dads.
You're thinking that. I'm thinking of the whole joke we had about just imagine McGann going to Lex Luthor and being like, you will give me permission to marry your son. It's the only one they didn't ask.
Lex is Lex is just giving people what they want. So he'd be like, I don't understand why you wouldn't think that I would do that. I'd be happy to do that. But he's got like a 12-year plan to make her regret
As long as I'm invited to the wedding, I have DNA samples that I'm lacking. I mean, what?
Awesome. Anything else on the Aster?
Yes, my final thing about the Phantom Zone as we wrap up, we have been all over the place on this episode. I, again, also like that the juxtaposition of the very cult-like Kryptonian asteroid building scene. I don't know what they're building and I don't know why, but it's juxtaposed with all of Connor's memories of building the altar on Mars. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that, to me, rewatching this scene, it reads as like that is the main thing that really pushes him over the edge to decide to stay and pledge loyalty, because he has these inexplicable memories of like a visually similar circumstance linked to feelings of love and acceptance and family, and is like, that tracks, and decides to go with it. And I think that's very interesting to me, that like seeing that triggers that specific memory in him. And to me, that influences his decision at the end of this episode, that it's not just like, oh, I've found people. It's like, I've found people and they're doing a thing that lines up with unexplainable memories that I am slowly losing track of, and the feelings that I associate with those memories. And I just think it's good. It's good. Phantom Zone is good and interesting. Anybody else have more thoughts after I had wrapped up?
I had it.
So many takes.
No, I'm good. I had a thing, but I think I'm not going to.
Aster.
All right.
Okay.
We did the Aster.
Welcome to the Fake Your Own Death Club. Its membership is very exclusive, and I'm the president.
Hello, team, and welcome to the Midroll. Producer Neil here, and I just wanted to say the episode's late because I went to a catacon, which is a glorious place that longtime listeners will know that I've been to many times. Rich has been there, and Caleb has been there many times as well. So it was a wonderful time. I ran a few panels that you can hear over on the Dungeon Masters block eventually. I ran a trivia show. I ran the new D&D starter set. I ran a couple games I had never done before. And all in all, it was just a great trip. It was very busy and travel woes abound. So that is one of the other factors as to why this episode's a little behind the times. The other one is what you're going to hear about here in a minute when we get to the Canary debrief. But before that, again, huge shout out to you, the listeners. I cannot thank you enough for all of the awesome ideas that have been flowing in about things that we could potentially do after season 4. So if this is the first time you're hearing me say such things, or it's just a friendly reminder, no idea is a bad idea when it comes to brainstorming. So if you have literally anything, any piece of spaghetti you want us to throw onto our wall of potentially what we could do after we wrap up the season 4 deep dive breakdowns, please feel free to email us at whelmedpodcast@gmail.com. And I will be happy to read it. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'll respond. I will 100% respond directly to those emails. We've got, like I said, a growing list, a beautiful list. Some things we had already been mulling around, other things that honestly weren't even on our radar, but now are, because you, the listeners, have reached out and talked about some things that you were interested in. But that's it. That's all I got for this week's Midroll. So with that out of the way, let's head back to the show.
Stick around. Class is in session.
In our Canary debrief, we will be discussing what we can learn about the creative process from the episodes we review. We're totally not going to do that today. One, didn't really have the time, and 2, I have an idea specifically for this one about reaching out to a previous guest to come back on. And while I do not know whether or not that will happen, that is where we currently are. So there may be a special Canary debrief in the future. And if not, we'll double back and we'll talk about some of the aspects of this episode. But my hope of hopes is that we can get in contact with our previous guest, bring them back on, and talk about some things. But with that, let's head to fan service.
I've admired your stance on animal rights for years.
In fan service, we take some time to highlight the amazing fan-related creations celebrating DC, Young Justice, and other creative works we think Young Justice fans will love. And for this week, I have found a video. There's been a recent video from a YouTuber called Momo O'Brien, who is an immersive experience YouTuber and content creator. So that covers theme parks, interactive theater, and live action role playing. And she has just released a video that she initially filmed several years ago, and it's finally come out to the world, called Superhero School in London Marked LARP. That is about a live action role playing event called Marked, a School for Heroes, in which all of the players play as young superheroes going to superhero school. I really enjoy a lot of the stuff that she makes. They are kind of, for anyone unfamiliar with this idea, a lot of her videos read as kind of like travel vlogs for extremely niche, nerdy subjects. And so she has done a 30-minute video talking about both the like gameplay experience of playing this game and how it works as a live action role-playing game versus like tabletop RPGs that we've often talked about on the show, as well as the experience of traveling there and getting to experience it with her friends and other players. And she touches on like the story that her and her friends got to tell as part of this event, that she plays a mean girl, head popular girl who has electricity powers and robot arms, and she's also in a band with a werewolf and an alien fish monster. And it's like, yes, that is teen superhero nonsense. And so if you're someone who enjoys teen superhero nonsense and wants to check out a fun take on that, we'll have the link for that down in the description so you can go watch this video.
So it was a masks LARP, basically.
Kind of.
Yeah.
In spirit, yes. In gameplay, not quite.
Not so much.
Yeah, no stats, none of that. But like, she talks about stuff like there was what was essentially a danger room set up that was like the holographic virtual room where they had people who would act as your holograms. You could play out whatever you wanted to do. There was a big final battle against some evil people attacking the school. This was all at a castle in the UK, like, because those are just there, so it looks like the X-Men mansion and stuff, like all very cool, very fun, and just fun to hear about. One of those things where it's like, I'll probably never get to go to London and do this thing, but it's very cool to hear people talk about it. I'm happy to hear your little story and see you play this fun, weird character and everybody else's fun, weird characters of like, yep, fish monster from space. Of course they're part of the teen superhero shenanigans. Love it. She's got robot arms and she's in a band. Yep, sounds like what this genre is for. Like,
you know me, I love a space fish monster.
And just there's also, it's just really cool video with like really nice production value. She has cool like comic book style illustrations through all of it of like her and her friends' characters drawn as like in a comic book style. It's very fun. Highly recommend. Check it out.
Cool. All right. Let's crash the mode.
Tell us something we don't know yet.
Sorry, BB. We can't risk altering the time stream. We do that, we're all feeling the mode.
Our earlier segments assume listeners have only seen up to this episode in Season 4. In Crashing the Mode, we'll be discussing spoilers and foreshadowing for future episodes, as well as plot elements from the original DC storylines that may affect what we see later on. We may also drop theories and speculations about what's to come based on wild flights of fancy.
You fancy.
There's an eye.
The Eye of Ekron.
The Eye of Ekron has a gabillion origins. It's usually bigger than that. You know, it's shrinky size.
But then it can't fit in your
right
pocket.
Now.
And how would it successfully be hidden from us for enough episodes that we forgot that it was part of the series until it eventually becomes important at the end of this season?
Yeah. The Eye of Ekron, I mean, it's got plot powers, basically. But it's kind of like, imagine if all the power of a Green Lantern ring was in this eye, which I think is one of his origins. One of its origins is that it's literally the eye of some giant species that at one point was a Green Lantern, and all the energy went into its eye. It's like the hand of Vecna or the eye of Vecna in D&D. It's like, are you supposed to stick this in your face, or is it just no? It just grows bigger and floats around and follows you. So you're right; it would be a little hard to hide it with this giant green glowing eye behind Lord Zod.
He hasn't
the whole
attuned
time.
to it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And no one needs Zod with a Green Lantern power ring. That's what I'm saying. Also, Darkseid does not need that either. That would be not great.
So we'll eventually find out that the Kaiser Thrall is one of the worst things ever. But in this moment, I just feel like it is Danny trying to exert some form of control and just mess with the team and be like, oh, you want to go there? Can do. Ah, you all feel terrible. Take that. Well,
yeah. Oh, I'm not making this a smooth ride.
Good for
Buckle up for turbulence. Yeah. Oh, Kaiser Thrall. It's kind of awful. Yeah.
Kind of.
Very awful.
It's a little boy trapped in a box. It's really awful.
It's horrifying. It's just the worst. It's the worst.
And Mantis just picks it up and throws it.
Yeah, well, I don't feel like he knows that.
Of course he doesn't know. I don't know if anybody knows until we find out.
Yeah. Ooh. Then you have so many different houses from Krypton. Ul, Kill, and you have an L there as well. There in the Phantom Zone. Although I don't remember how much that comes up.
Yeah, somebody had. I thought I saw somebody in the background had the S.
So yeah, you have Zod as one family, and then Ul, Kill, and L, which I also think would be does Connor ever mention his name as anything other than Superboy?
Superboy. He just calls him Superboy. And he doesn't even have the symbol.
So
on
then
his
I was
chest.
like, well, why wouldn't you? We don't have enough information to be like, hey, this is a family member. So okay.
And I'm pretty sure this is the first time there's any mention of. So we talked much about Jor-El in this show.
Nope.
And Zor-El, obviously. So this is like the first time that Supergirl's dad's mentioned, that Kara's dad's mentioned, right? And then that comes up at the end of the season, but we don't have anything else. We have no other indication that Kara's a thing until the end of the season.
Also,
right?
This is the point at which we can start tracking, and I don't think the answer is yes, but a question that I will pose here in Crashing the Mode until we have the answer is, when is Phantom Girl awake and when does Connor know? Because I don't think she's awake yet, and I don't think he realizes what's going on yet. But obviously we're closer. Certainly closer than we were before. Because suddenly he's going to realize this place, not great. And she's going to just be like, hey, I was faking it. I am awake.
Did that happen? I don't remember that.
In this? No, not in this episode. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I wonder at which point she was.
No, not in this episode. I actually don't remember. She does wake up in the Phantom Zone. I remembered. And that's what I was like when they were talking about it today, when I was rewatching it.
She wakes up and fakes it for a bit.
Yeah, I think I assumed that when she wakes up and when we see her wake up is the first time that she wakes up. I think is how I've always read it, but I might.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too.
Confused.
But then, like, in this moment, I was like, well, like, if he's having these flashbacks, at what point is he piecing it together? And just like as a curiosity, then, is there a point at which maybe she did wake up?
And how many times is this poor boy's brain going to be wrecked and have to be put back together?
It's almost like that's why you marry a telepath who's here to just help. That's what she's here for. She will fix Connor's brain as many times as she needs to. That's true love.
You had a thing about a couple we didn't know was a couple or something?
Speaking of that, we mentioned this and then it got cut out. I just want to throw out that we joked about how Dinah's flower shop that her office is above is called Sherwood Florist. And I hold to the fact that Oliver absolutely chose that name for this cover business, because at this point in the series, unless something else that we don't know about has also happened, Dinah and Ollie are married. And the reason that we know this is because the comics that we haven't gotten to yet, the Targets miniseries that takes place post season 4 with flashbacks to mid season 1, includes the fact that somewhere in the middle of season 1, I need to do the math sometime so that I remember exactly what it is. Oliver proposed to Dinah and she said yes. And I presume at some point they got married off screen and have been married for several years, and it just never comes up. So they co-own that flower shop in my head, and the name was Oliver's idea, and you can't convince me otherwise without proof.
So Perdita in that scene, because that scene almost like made canon the same story that was in the DC Showcase animateds. And that animated one was done by Greg, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so Perdita, this is when Perdita, I think, first came to the States.
Yes.
So I'm wondering did she come to have the surgery? Like, was she coming in that time to have the surgery so she's that exact age? Or I kind of am picturing it now like that whole animated scene happened right before she went to the hospital.
Because I haven't read these comics in a bit, and I don't want to get this wrong. But I think it's supposed to be like around that. I think the reason that it's slightly different than the DC short, like they are comparable to each other. They have basically the same plot, but like the DC Showcase short, Perdita is younger, and like there is far more tension between like Black Canary and Oliver getting into like a fight beforehand or something like that. Whereas the comic is a little bit more straightforward. And I think it is supposed to be like very shortly before we meet her in the animated series, like a few months at most. Like it might be that she's coming here for testing and stuff beforehand. Like I don't remember. There are timestamps. I don't remember what they are right now. And we'll cover these in comics commentary, I'm sure. When it first came out, I did some of the math, and I remember talking about it with you guys somewhere, and like it's mid-season 1 when all of that happens. So it is before the heart surgery, before Kid Flash meets her, but like after the start of season 1. It's like right in that first half of season 1 area, I believe. Again, it's been a bit since I've touched those comics.
That makes sense.
I might be slightly off. But
well, we'll double check it. We'll double check it in comics.
Basically, the whole point is that
through it.
If all went as implied, Oliver and Dinah have been married for almost 10 years and have simply never told any of us watching at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're interested, that all the DC showcases were pretty cool. So I'm sure you could probably find them online somewhere. You should go check them out. But
at least at one point, I believe they were like on the official DC Comics YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are anymore, but they were at one point.
I'm not sure either. But I think this is the only, it's the only animated appearance, or actually not animated. It's the only reference in Young Justice to Merlin as well. Merlin's in the comic too, right? He was the antagonist in the animated version. The Archer who is trying to kill Perdita.
You mean,
oh
my gosh, what is his actual name? Oh! And he ends up being Oliver's sister, Thea's actual father. And this is the Arrowverse.
On Arrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Played by John Barrowman, and I can't remember the character's first name either.
Mm-hmm.
I watched several seasons of that show. I don't remember anything.
John, I don't think I watched that far. John Barrowman played Merlin? Interesting. Okay. Malcolm?
Yes, I think.
Oh, yeah. There's a picture. There it is. Fascinating. All right. Well, that's enough of that nonsense.
Getting back to Young Justice.
Go check it out. The animated DC showcases were all pretty cool.
Or check out the comics, where you can see a very similar storyline unfold in the bonus parts.
That's true.
My final Crashing the Mode is, of course, this episode is where we get Tomar-Ray talking about the destruction of Krypton being his biggest regret, which will, of course, set up thematically for next week's episode, where he will sacrifice himself to save a planet from exploding. Because that's what he does. Because,
Yeah.
He's also the Lantern who died, by the way. That's his shtick, eventually.
Well, to be fair, New Genesis wasn't going to blow up. It was going to, have a nuclear winter kind of thing, something like that.
What does the New God care? 16,000 years old.
Yeah.
Well, they care because they live there. What?
I guess. They just wait a while. It'll go away eventually.
No, Rich.
Just make another one.
Just make it
time.
Yep. Well, but we'll get into all of that next week.
Next episode. All right.
Next episode. 2 weeks.
All right.
That's how our schedule works.
And with all that, I think we can Zeta out of the Watchtower.
Blah, blah, blah. All the words.
Blah, blah, blah.
Et cetera, et cetera. And remember.
Stay whelmed, everyone.
Stay whelmed, everyone.
I feel like that was almost synchronized.
That was almost. All right.
You've been listening to Whelmed, the Young Justice Files podcast. Our hosts are Rich Howard and Emily Booza. Our editor and producer is Neil Powell. Our theme was composed by Emily Mio. Our logo was created by Kevin Bates. Whelmed is a fan-made podcast and is not officially affiliated with DC Comics, DC Entertainment, Warner Brothers Animation, and any other owners of Young Justice or its related source material. As such, these companies have sole ownership of all symbols, images, names, logos, and proprietary material related to Young Justice. Original content of this podcast is ours under Creative Commons. Thanks for listening, and stay whelmed.